Welcome to Unspoken Affairs. My name is Patricia, and this is not an easy story for me to tell. In fact, I've debated 1,000 times whether I should even speak these words out loud. Sometimes I think it would be easier to keep everything locked inside. Hidden behind the smile I force myself to wear when I'm out in the world, pretending to be okay. But deep down, I know the silence hasn't helped me heal. It's only made the weight on my chest heavier, the nights longer, and the loneliness sharper. So I'm sharing my story not because I want pity, and not because I need attention, but because speaking it feels like the only way I can finally breathe again. If you've ever had your heart broken, you know the pain I'm talking about. Not just the ache of disappointment, but the kind of heartbreak that shatters your confidence, your trust, even your sense of who you are. I've been through that more than once, 3 times, actually. And by the third, I swore I was done. Done with love, done with men, done with the cycle of hoping and hurting. I told myself I'd rather be alone than risk giving someone else the power to break me again. The last time nearly destroyed me. I thought I'd finally found the one person who saw me, who loved me for who I really was. He made promises, painted pictures of a future together, told me he couldn't imagine his life without me. And I believed him. For months, I lived in that dream, until one day he vanished. No explanation, no goodbye. Just silence. I tried to reach him, but he ignored every call, every message. I didn't know if he was hurt, if I'd done something wrong, or if I was simply forgettable. 2 months later, I found out the truth. He hadn't been hurt. He hadn't been lost. He'd been building a life with someone else. And when he finally resurfaced, he was engaged to her. Engaged as if what we had meant absolutely nothing. I can't even describe the way my chest caved in when I heard. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation, disbelief, and grief all rolled into one. I felt like I had been living in a lie, like every word he'd ever spoken was just a script in a play I didn't know I was part of. That night, I stood in front of the mirror and said to myself, no more. No more falling. No more trusting. No more giving away pieces of my heart only for someone else to throw them away. If there was anyone I could still lean on, it was my dad. He's always been my anchor. A man who rarely shows emotion, but has always been there in his quiet, steady way. My mom used to joke that he was the calm in every storm, and for me, he was. Whenever life got too heavy, he was the one I turned to. The one I knew wouldn't judge me, even if he didn't have all the right words to say. But even anchors can be shaken, and 8 months ago, a father's world, our world, came crashing down. My mom, my best friend, the woman who raised me with so much love and laughter, lost her battle with cancer. Even though we knew it was coming, nothing prepared us for the finality of it. Nothing prepared me to hear her last breath or see my dad's face crumble in a way I had never seen before. He lost the love of his life that day, and I lost the person who knew me better than anyone else. The days after the funeral blurred together. People came with flowers, cards, and casseroles, all with good intentions, but none of it filling the void that had been left behind. The house became a museum of sympathy, with refrigerator shelves stuffed full of food we couldn't eat and counters buried under cards with phrases like, "She's in a better place." Everyone meant well, but when the last car drove away, when the phone calls slowed, when the visits stopped, that was when reality set in. That was when the silence became deafening. I could see it in my dad's eyes. He moved through each day like he was underwater, slow and heavy, his grief weighing him down. At night, I could hear him through the walls, the quiet sounds of him crying, trying so hard to keep it hidden. He thought he was protecting me by bottling it up. But all it did was remind me of how broken we both were. And then there was Ethan. Ethan had always been around. He was a neighbor, a family friend, someone my mom trusted and my dad respected. Growing up, he was the guy who'd help us move heavy furniture, fix a leaky faucet, or shovel snow from the driveway without being asked. He was dependable. It's the kind of person you don't notice until you realize how much he's quietly done for you. After Mom's funeral, when everyone else drifted back into their own lives, Ethan didn't. He kept showing up. At first, I thought it was just out of obligation. Maybe he felt sorry for us. Maybe he didn't know how to step away. But over time, I realized it wasn't obligation. It was care. Genuine care. He'd stop by with groceries knowing we hadn't bothered to go shopping. He'd come over to check on the house, making sure things were working. Some nights he'd bring dinner, not as a guest but as someone who simply wanted to share a meal with us. He didn't push, didn't force conversation. He was just there. And that presence, as small as it might sound, became a lifeline for both my dad and me. It's hard to explain what grief does to you. It doesn't just hurt. It disorients you. It makes you reach for anything that feels steady, anything that reminds you you're not drowning. Ethan became that steady thing, quietly stitching himself into the empty spaces left behind by my mom's absence. At first, I didn't think much of it. He was helping my dad, and by extension, helping me. But slowly, I started noticing more. The way he always asked how I was really doing, not just the casual, polite version, but the kind of question that made me pause and answer honestly. The way he remembered little details I mentioned, like how I couldn't sleep at night or how I kept forgetting to eat breakfast. The way he'd share stories about my mom, not to make me cry, but to remind me of her laughter, her quirks. The way she made everyone feel loved. One evening, after a long, rainy day, he showed up with takeout. My dad had gone to bed early, worn out by the weight he carried. And I was sitting in the living room, staring blankly at the television, not really watching. Ethan handed me a bag and said, "I figured you hadn't eaten." We sat together on the couch, eating in silence at first. And then, I don't know what came over me, but the words started spilling out. I told him about my heartbreaks, about how I felt cursed when it came to love, about how losing my mom felt like losing the last piece of safety I had. I admitted how tired I was of pretending to be strong, how exhausted I felt carrying the weight of being okay for everyone else. Ethan just listened. No judgment, no interruptions, just quiet understanding. And when my voice broke and the tears finally came, he didn't try to stop them. He didn't tell me to calm down or to look on the bright side. He just put his arm around me, steady and reassuring, and let me cry. In that moment, something shifted inside me. For the first time in months, I didn't feel alone. For the first time in months, I felt safe enough to break. And that safety, that quiet presence, was something I didn't even realize how much I needed until it was right there beside me. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't want to call it love, because love was a word that had betrayed me too many times before. I didn't even want to call it attraction because that felt complicated, messy, and maybe even wrong given the circumstances. But it was something I couldn't ignore. And that's where my story truly begins.